Hi everyone, Kable here, and it's time for a review of the new samlrc album, A Lonely Sinner. This is the newest full-length album from Brazilian artist, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, album of the year user, samlrc. She is an artist who I recently discovered through some positive reviews on the other big music rating site, Rate Your Music, and certainly the genre has piqued my interest, with the album generally being labeled as post-rock with additional influences from shoegaze and ambient and lo-fi rock music. Not necessarily a new style, but it was one that has always gotten the best of me at times, and by the looks of it, Sam seems to be really proud of what she's made. Not that she hasn't released any music prior to A Lonely Sinner, but what little she has released seems to be in totally different styles, so in a way, this could be the beginning of a new chapter for her musically, if nothing else. Going into this, I wasn't exactly sure what I was expecting from the album lyrically, given all the lamb imagery that permeates Sam's social media, her lamb OC in particular, which is present on the cover. Also, the title of this album, A Lonely Sinner, would it be dealing with the concept of sin and Christianity in general, and also some sort of redemption arc of sorts? Once I gave the album a proper spin and did a little bit more digging, I realized a few things. One, Sam LRC is trans. Maybe not the hugest revelation that I've ever came across, but it does play into the whole concept of sin in a huge way. Essentially, this album kicks off, or later on, with the protagonist feeling like she is a sinner, and for what reason exactly? Well, it's because she's someone she shouldn't be in the eyes of God, or at least that's what the people around her have told her and taught her and all that. What I also find fascinating is all the lamb imagery thrown through the album, which includes various samples of sheep noises scattered across the LP. This album looks into what it means to be a lamb, or more specifically, what it means to be so powerless in the face of danger, with the most obvious example of danger being wolves. With the track Storage, the protagonist wants to be taught how to be a wolf so that she can feel strong and not be killed. Now, I'm not really sure if the wolf is like a metaphor for being quote unquote normal in the eyes of everyone, or for maybe the wolf is like an abuser and she's trying to basically get back at this abuser or abusers. I feel like it could be either or, but yeah. Now, I just spilled out a lot about what this album means lyrically and how it all ties into this idea of being trans, but I really need to stress that lyrically, this album is not super dense. And when I say that, I'm not suggesting that the lyrics are very plain and simple or something like that. More so that there isn't really a whole lot lyrically throughout this nearly 50-minute album. A good deal of the emotional weight that is featured on this album is carried by the music itself. And good lord, is the music on here so amazing. There are only 8 songs on here, which again round up to almost 50 minutes. And I say that for the most part, the flow of this album is very great. There are 2 very long songs on here, those being Philatia and Storage, both of which feature these amazing crescendos that kind of remind me of trilogy-era Swans, which I'm not super surprised, seeing as one of the songs on this album does actually sample a Swans demo track. I'm not sure which one, though. While I'm on the topic of samples, some other artists that are sampled on here include Low, Björk, and even Mersbo, and maybe this is just me being an idiot, but what's amazing is that none of these samples are really obvious to me. They feel like they all naturally belong in the mix. I know some people might blindly peg these sample choices as RYM bait or something stupid like that, but I honestly don't think that's the case. Like Sam said on the Bandcamp release, she mostly chose those samples because those were some of the songs she really loves, and she felt like they would add to the overall experience of the album, and I pretty much agree with that. They do overall add to the experience. Now, I only mentioned 2 songs from this album so far, but shock of all shocks, there are 6 other songs on here. The opening and closing track are both like intros and outros, and they do a really good job at setting up and concluding the whole album. Sinner, which is the 3rd track, is arguably the album's main focal point lyrically, where the protagonist proclaims how she is a sinner, and it is backed up by this very soft, almost folky instrumental, only to suddenly expand into something larger once the lyrics are over. Then there's the song Flower Fields, which highlights how helpless the protagonist feels, with lyrics like, "There's no water, I'm a sacrifice," and "Hopefully my blood will feed my flowers," which highlights how she feels she will eventually be killed. So in a way, it's almost her giving up and laying down in the field, waiting for the wolves to come by. But this leads into the song Storage, which I already mentioned a few times already, but the song really is the climax of the whole album, not only in terms of lyrics, which I previously talked about, but also sonics. This song has, without a doubt, the most extreme guitar parts that border on metal, and holy crap, is the riff just so dissident and powerful once the crescendo reaches its peak. After that song dies down, it goes straight into what might be my favorite song on the whole album, Sheep Theme, which is perhaps the most uplifting song on the whole album. With the lyric, "She tried to run again," leading into an explosion of color and wonder in the instrumental, and it's just so beautiful. I know it might be odd that this one is my favorite song on the album, especially seeing as it only clocks in at around 3 minutes, but damn, it's just so amazing. After this is the final main song of the whole album for M, which, and I'm just realizing this as I'm writing this review, but the lyrics on here are literally the chorus from Björk's Hyper Ballad, which is very interesting to me because in Hyper Ballad, Björk talks about how she basically needs some, I guess you could say, alone time before she can fully understand what it means to be in a relationship with someone. So this line coming after such an emotional roller coaster on A Lonely Sinner could mean a few things, but I personally think that it's basically the protagonist having this existential crisis on what it means to be a lamb and how she needs this someone. It could be God, it could be a significant other, I'm not really sure, but she needs this someone in order to feel safe. Either way, it's definitely something to think about. And after the outro, that's pretty much the album. And honestly, A Lonely Sinner is just so amazing. I love pretty much every song on here, and while there are a couple moments that I think could have been maybe better, they were mostly just moments, and they honestly don't stick out too much whenever I put this album on. And it's because of all of this that I have no qualms with calling this my second favorite album of the year so far. It could potentially be my favorite, but I'm not sure. Also, there's the new Adrian Linker album that just dropped, and that one might grow on me. Honestly, I thought about making a video highlighting my favorite releases of the year as of Q1 2024, but now that I think about it, it would be kind of tricky to do that, but I still wanted to shout out this album because this really is quite the gem, and while it has garnered more attention thanks to sites like Rate Your Music and Album of the Year, I feel like it deserves even more attention, so go check out this album if you haven't already, and if Sam LRC is watching this, which could be a very real possibility at this point, I just want to say again that you've made a very great album, and I personally can't wait to see what you do next. And yeah, that's pretty much all for this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, whenever that comes out. Bye.